In the build-up to the grand part 26 of my Mort theory, today we are going to recap every single thing that has occurred to get us where we are now at the final connection segment. Yes, this is for new people who have no idea what I'm talking about. This is for old people who want a refresher. This is being posted in the vague name of Coherence Insanity. So what is the Mort theory? Well, simply put, parts 1 to 6, aka this compilation video, is sort of volume 1, where we cover Mort the lemur from Madagascar. He is pretty unsuspecting and normal in the movies, but in the spin-off shows he is absolutely shocking. He is obscene. They give him some of the most complicated sci-fi backstory stuff, all as an elaborate funny. So I stitched it together. Interestingly, most of it is very structured and planned out. There are even some episodes that are more drama series than comedy skit. Very interesting, but in part 1 I planned it out. Thought it would take 4 hours and 15 videos, now we're way beyond that. All I did was read his wiki page, but in parts 2 to 4 we actually watched through the entire show, All Hail King Julian, and I grabbed every piece of lore I could get my hands on. Part 5 we also did this for the Penguins of Madagascar TV show. Once we had all this evidence, things got really crazy. The shows talk about parallel universes and thousands of Mort clones being absorbed into his psyche, weird genetics like how he's part spider, and alternate dimensions colliding with warlords and intellectuals alike. Very chaotic, very epic, very surprising from a side character like this, so I crashed it all together in part 6, rounding off this first volume, let's say, by coming to a series of very well substantiated conclusions about the show. In short, the show describes how Mort is an interdimensional godlike being who has been around since the beginning of time. He has quarrels and battles with the sky gods of Madagascar, which are represented by a pantheon of fruits up in heaven. Mort was a threat to reality, so they splintered him across the multiverse, and slowly but surely, fragments of Mort are finding each other again and reabsorbing into more powerful entities like Mordecus Khan and Smart Mort, and most notably, our Mort, who after losing one of these battles wiped his own memory and stashed himself among some clones as a petty mouse lemur in Madagascar. Mort is essentially the creator of the entire world from a higher dimension, but is a bit of a malicious demon and ultimately is hinted at to be death itself, the Grim Reaper. Following Volume 1, I dragged in tons of older theories of mine into the playlist. Why? Well, because during all this, there were a ridiculous number of hints that connect things to other DreamWorks films and shows too. So in preparation to explain these connections and how they expand on Mort's more important story, I dragged in my Shrek timeline, my 4 theories on the fairy godmother, my theory on the trumpet player from Shrek 2, and my 2 theories on Donkey's mutant babies. Through all of this, we essentially cover how the fairy godmother was actually behind Fiona's curse, and she did it because she was out to rule far, far away to get revenge on the people who ruled it before the films. This would be Queen Lillian's family, her father, mother, siblings, etc. She hated them because she had an affair with them that led to the birth of her son, Prince Charming. This also covers how her magic works, how Rumpelstiltskin's connected to her, and how they have a secret sort of organization that controls all sources of magic so they can transcend universes and become like gods on Earth. Her magic created life and allowed Donkey's kids to exist because of her potion that he drank. Her shady organization has infiltrated everything at this point, and almost all of the Shrek villains are a part of it. They have codes that they share through music and comedy, mainly. Their goal is to crush fairy tale animals and usurp the monarchy. They're everywhere. Following the Shrek videos, I dragged in my older theories on the humans of the Madagascar films, and also my theory on how the humans in Over the Hedge are a part of something greater. Essentially, the old woman and the French officer are related and a part of the same group. The same applies to the exterminator from Over the Hedge. This is all culminated in part 17 when I finally made a new video and tied all of it into Mort. You see, I had reason to believe that the fairy godmother's organization was the same group as the one Nana Dubois and the Verminator were a part of. Not only that, but traces of this group are found in almost every single DreamWorks film, and contains almost every single DreamWorks villain. The ultimate goal? Crush animal intelligence. That's the plot of almost all these films. Not only that, but the coded jokes and music aren't the only big link here. There's one that's even more important, and it's that this whole organization seems to be localized out of France. The racer from Turbo is French, the Verminator is French, the animal officer is French, the lawyer from the Bee Movie, Suppressing the Bees, has a French name, and it bleeds into every single film in ways that sound crazy at first, but then it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. My understanding is that DreamWorks, intentionally or not, made this pattern with all their villains, and there is an extremely clean way to connect all of them that makes it feel like it's at least partly intentional, joke or not. The kicker? Mort, or rather Death, is at the core of animal intelligence. Death brings back nature, destroys the industrialization of humanity. The gods have created this organization to stop him. So I dragged in my 3 theories on Megamind. You see, in these older theories of mine, I determined that the entire city is in on a conspiracy to force Metro Men and Megamind to fight each other so they can stay safe in the middle. They don't want these aliens taking over. On top of that, Megamind's home planet also has some mysteries, and it ties into how his minion seems to have the transplanted brain of Megamind's family servant. At this point, almost all my old DreamWorks theories had been tied in, so I cut off Volume 2 and started on the 3rd, where I could really expose this French cult. I want to be clear. In this 3rd volume, these segments where I make all the connections, I do not hold back. These, so far, 3 videos alone comprise possibly some of the best theory videos in the history of YouTube as far as baffling shockers go. It makes no sense that these patterns exist. It's completely absurd. But the fact that it keeps going and actually does make more and more sense the more you watch is nothing short of magical, disturbing, and absolutely shocking. Almost everyone watching ends up believing it in some capacity, and it's because of the sheer volume of proof. And it's not vague either, it's very conclusive. There's evil French shit everywhere trying to crush smart animals, and the music is the code. This is DreamWorks. And more connections breed more and more answers as you realize Madagascar was colonized by France, the DreamWorks moon is the god itself, and the word Mort is literally French for death. It penetrates every single story they've released, all on one massive shared world, one massive timeline of events, one massive epic tale that nobody has picked up on until me. Again, whether intentional or not, DreamWorks has boxed themselves into a logical story set that means either this is all true, or all of their stories crumble into plot holes, but it must be intentional because in the 2 years since my last video, they've released multiple films about animal intelligence, one of which features death itself, right out of left field, right up against a character I had previously deemed critical to Mort. It's fascinating in the extreme, and even though there's like 7 hours to catch up on so far, it's the most interesting, amazing thing you'll ever see. It's not a Mort theory, in truth, it's the story of all DreamWorks. We left off with Mort actually being the hero and the whole timeline being backwards, and the playlist is remarkably organized. Just work your way through it, and right now I'm adding parts 24 and 25 as the final 2 DreamWorks theories I had yet to include on Rise of the Guardians and Kung Fu Panda, just to make things more complete. Get ready for part 26. It is the finale of the connection segments, the conclusion of Volume 3, and considering the logic segments of Volume 4 are the end, things are reaching a point of brilliance unheard of in theorizing. Check it out now. And if you want to see part 26 much earlier than everyone else, I implore you to assist me over on Patreon. It does a great deal of help. And tons of scripts have all been ready and waiting as I've been working on this part. The only reason I haven't uploaded those yet is because I promised this here would be next. So I'll be opening the floodgates, I guess. I might also plan to release weekly physics videos on Patreon for a couple bucks a month, we'll see. They hurt my channel's algorithm, but they're like candy for math people and I love them to bits. I also have either a game or ARG or something new in the works, very cool, very soon. Make sure you've subscribed with all notifications because part 26 is coming very quickly. Days away now. So get hyped because it's absolutely f***ed.